Fair use, fair use.
Get ready to move! Prep the smoke!
Fuck out of here! Fuck!
Smoke out! I'm the three! See? Hang in, stay with me.
Fuck, give me guns.
Damn, Jake. Hey, they call it predictive programming for a reason. All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who taught me this truth. Double salutations to all you Akim out the laboring, the house of David, the elect, that's pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom to you, brothers, and shalom to the elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit, the Rakakwadash. And jumping right into this article here, this came out from the New York Times. All right, headline here, it reads, it says, Americans are preparing for when all hell breaks loose. See? Americans are preparing for when all hell breaks loose. And this is why, I wanted to play that scene from the Civil War movie that came out in 2024. All right, it's a good movie if you haven't checked it out. And pretty much, they were letting the people know back then that, civil war is getting ready to break out throughout society. Okay, and by the look of it, as we see the way things are going, all right, with Trump, the state of the planet, America, the uncertainty and the anxiety that's on these people, all right, everything is intensifying. And eventually, as we're reading here, all hell is going to break loose. All right, we've been saying this for years through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shai. All right, we've been warning you through the Spirit that that day is on the horizon. All right, and it's going to come to a time where, everything is just going to, turn over. All right, so again, Americans are preparing for when all hell breaks loose. It says once thought of as a fringe mindset, the prepared citizen movement is gaining traction in a world shaped by war, the pandemic, and extreme weather. Right, real quick. Jeremiah 28:8. All right. These prophecies are hidden, man. Hitting hard. Jeremiah 28:8, it says, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesy both against many countries, against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. All right. All three of these things are getting ready to hit Babylon soon. Okay. A world shaped by war, by war, the pandemic, and extreme weather. All right. Man. So let's just read on a little bit. Like I said, it's just a quick news, prophecy update or whatnot. All right. So it says here, and we'll just read from the top here. It says 10 men Some wearing camouflage, others in vests loaded with ammunition for their AR-15 rifles, gathered under the morning shade of oak trees in Central Florida last month. They were there to learn marksmanship tactics common among special operation forces and elite law enforcement units. Right, and that's another point too. We've been telling you about this as well, that there's a lot of Edomites out here that's training. All right, they're learning martial arts. All right, they're at the gun ranges. They're practicing. You know, they have their kids with them. They're shooting guns. All right, a lot of these Edomite, excuse me, a lot of these Edomites, both right and left, are preparing for this inevitable collapse of this society. All right, so while you Jakes are fucking, you know, dancing around on TikTok and social media and doing all this stupid shit online, all right, these Edomites are preparing for war. And we've been saying this for years. All right, it says their instructor, Christopher Eric Rocher, an Air Force veteran, introduced himself and then led the group in prayer. Quote, Lord, you will use them as assets. Lord, you would use them as assets to be protectors in this world, in a world that's full of evil, he prayed. The men gathered around him were not soldiers, police officers, or right-wing militia members. They were mostly civilians, including 2 pilots and nurse and a construction company executive. All right, and those are included too. All right, the retired police officers, the right-wing militia members, all right, ex-military, all right. All these Edomites are preparing for what you just saw in the beginning of this lesson. It says the class title, Full Contender Minuteman, even referred to the civilian turned soldiers of the American Revolution. You see that? The time is coming. Isaiah 19. All right. The revolution will be televised, right? Isaiah 19:2, it says, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. Right. We are in spiritual Egypt. All right. So that's these Americans, these Babylonians. The Lord is getting ready to set these Egyptians against each other. All right. Egyptian against the Egyptians, and they shall fight. Everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom. That's civil war. All right. That's when this society collapses as it's headed to that direction. All right. Let's read on. It says, and that's going to be part of the American Revolution. All right. And you Jakes, you know, you're going to be caught up in that too. Because a lot of you niggas running around talking about you're an American and all of this, you know, bullshit. All right. You were bamboozled by the voting process. You know, you're caught up in this shit too. So a lot of you Jakes, as they showed in the clip, all right, they showed Jake get smoked. You know, it says, in a world shaped by war, a pandemic, and extreme weather, more Americans are getting ready for crisis. See? Whether it's to fight a tyrannical government, repel an invading army, or respond to natural disaster. And all 3 of these things are coming. All right? Everybody sees, especially now, those that voted for Trump, now you're seeing that he's not even for you. All right? He's for the elite. He's for the rich. Okay? All these laws that's being signed, those decrees when he first got into office, these job cuts, these tariffs right now, all right, these are all set up to destroy you people, man. Okay? And really, they're purposely, you know, breaking down this system to bring in that mark of the beast. All right? That digital system. It says whether it's to fight a tyrannical government, repel an invading army, or respond to a natural disaster. That's 2 Ezra 16, right? It's 2 Ezra 16 and 18. It says the beginning of sorrows. And this is where we're at right now. All right, with this tariff situation. All right, what do you say? 104%, you know, tariffs against China, or whatever the case was. Right? All this shit is about to cause the society to crash and burn, man. All right, the lesson that I did yesterday. These American people are going to be greatly affected. All right, products, goods, clothes, groceries, food, everything, man. The price of living. It says the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils, What shall I do when these evils shall come? So this is what we're reading in this article. This is what, so-called Americans are preparing for, man. Right? That's why I said they called it predictive programming for a reason. All right. What was it called? The term revelation of the method. All right. They put these things in these movies. They're basically forecasting on what's about to happen. They're foretelling you the future in a way. They're letting you know that this is how it's going to play out soon to come. All right. Egyptian versus Egyptian. Okay. It says, let's read some more. It says they are known as prepared or professional citizens, part of a growing number of gun owners, right? Part of a growing number of gun owners who are adapting their mindset to uncertain and polarized times. And rather being part of more fringe prepper culture, they are growing more mainstream, catered to by companies ready to offer them the tools and training to be ready. See, this is what people are doing. All right, that's also that's the spirit that's out here. Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, a time for everything. All right, and I always bring these scriptures out because every day we're moving closer to these events, taking place, man. Straight to the point. Because this is the time and season that we are in right now. Ecclesiastes 3:8, it says a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. All right, we're in a time of war and a time of hate, man. All right, as we read, polarization, division. All right, people buying guns all over the place. All right, citizens training, right-wing militia groups. All right, retired policemen, ex-military, all that. Okay. It says the traditional aspects of gun ownership, such as simple target shooting, are increasingly being shelved in favor of topics like radio and medical training, night vision shooting, drone reconnaissance, homesteading, and military tactics. All right, that's the spirit that's out here, man. The spirit of war, the spirit of preparation, man. Of doomsday scenarios, chaos, right? Quote, we are looking at a growing number of companies who are broadening the appeal and normalizing self-preparedness and the tools needed to enable it, said Kareem Shaya, the co-founder of Open Source Defense, a startup working to normalize gun culture in the United States and invest in new companies in the civilian defense industry. 5 or 10 years ago, we couldn't have done what we're doing because there just weren't enough startups in the space. We're seeing it accelerate in real time. Yeah, that's the spirit. You see, this is the Lord. The Lord is accelerating everything in real time because this shit is almost over. All right, we're approaching, as we say, we're approaching that climax, man. Okay, this shit is about to go down, right? 2nd Ezra 15, got to get that. You already know, 2nd Ezra 15 and verse 14, and it reads, it says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh. See? And this is what people can see right now. They can sense it, they can feel it. For the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, draweth near. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Right? That's these guns. All right, the weaponry, man. This preparedness for societal disaster. Okay, all hell breaking loose, civil war. For there should be sedition among men, and invading one another, they should not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Right, because it's going to be a time of complete lawlessness, man. All right, that's how it's getting ready to go down. They didn't make this movie for no reason, man. All right, we're coming to a time of lawlessness and chaos. There's not going to be any ruling authority, man. People are going to be out here trying to survive. All right, every man for himself. Okay, it says, It says, in the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Right. It says a man should desire to go into a city and should not be able. Right. Because, you're going to have martial law. You're going to have, certain cities, locked down, closed down, where people are not going to be able to travel through. Right. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. And it says the houses shall be destroyed and men shall be afraid. It's going to be a terrible time. All right. Which entails the time of Jacob's trouble. A time like no other. All right. It says a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. That's what's coming, man. All right. Man is not going to have pity upon his neighbor because he's going to be trying to survive, man. People got family and kids, to feed. All right. So that, this whole, we're American and I love my neighbor and all that shit, that's going to be out the window, man. In a time of great distress, tribulation, all right, when there's a lack of food and resources, man. All right, this is what the people are preparing for. It says prepare citizenry and the more familiar practice of, quote, prepping shares some characteristics, though preppers are more focused on getting ready for long-term self-sufficiency, right? That's what I was talking about. People are getting ready for long-term self-sufficiency, man. To maintain themselves in a time of a complete chaos. Keeping chickens, growing a vegetable garden, and storing supplies in bulk. Prepared citizens want to be ready for sudden calamity. All right? Prophecy. Let's see if there's anything else we want to read. All right. So it goes into a program here. Let's see. All right. You see, they got the photos here. You clearly see what's going on. All right. This is the time that we're in right now. And it's all getting ready to go down. All right. It's a long article. Let's see. That's pretty much it. Everything else is self-explanatory, right? So you get it, all right? Americans are preparing for when all hell breaks loose. It's prophecy, man. All right, so it's getting ready to go down. I thought this was pretty heavy, this article, man. That's why when I saw the article, I was just thinking about this movie. I went to see that last year. It's a good movie. All right, just showing you how it's going to go down, give you an idea of how things are going to play out across America when society breaks down, So I leave it like that. I pray that this quick lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, and shalom to the next one. Shalom.